You finally say something honest. Maybe about how stressed you've been. Maybe about something personal you rarely share. The conversation ends, nothing bad happens, but hours later, your brain starts replaying it. Every sentence, every pause, every expression on their face. And suddenly, you feel a quiet wave of embarrassment. Not because anything went wrong, but because you revealed something real. And now, a strange thought appears. Why did I say that? Most people think embarrassment comes from doing something wrong, but this kind of embarrassment is different. It happens after vulnerability. You share something honest, and later, you wish you hadn't. You start imagining how you sounded. Too emotional, too dramatic, too personal. Your brain turns the memory into a small courtroom. Every word becomes evidence. Maybe you think, they probably think I'm weak. That sounded awkward. I shared too much. So next time, you hold back a little more. You keep conversations lighter, safer, more controlled. Over time, something subtle happens. You start protecting people from seeing the real version of you. Not because you want to hide, but because your brain learned that openness feels risky. And this creates a quiet contradiction. Part of you wants deeper connection, but another part immediately regrets creating it. Why does the brain react this way, even when the conversation went perfectly fine? The first thing to understand is this. This reaction doesn't mean you're overly sensitive, and it doesn't mean you're socially awkward. In many cases, it's the opposite. Your brain is simply trying to protect your social identity. Human beings evolved in small tribes. Belonging meant survival. So the brain developed a powerful system that constantly monitors how others might judge us. When you open up emotionally, you temporarily remove your social armor, and your brain notices, not as a mistake, but as exposure. The embarrassment you feel afterward is actually your brain running a safety scan, checking whether you just took a social risk. Which raises an interesting question. If vulnerability is necessary for connection, why does the brain treat it like a potential danger? To understand this, imagine your brain has something like a social alarm system, not for physical threats, but for social reputation threats. Psychologists sometimes describe this through the lens of self-conscious emotions like embarrassment, shame, and guilt. These emotions evolved as internal signals that help regulate social behavior. When you open up, your brain performs a rapid calculation. It asks 3 questions. Did I reveal too much? Did I break an invisible social rule? Did I lower my social status? If the answer is uncertain, the alarm activates. Here's the mental model. Think of vulnerability like opening a door in a house. Most of the time, nothing happens. But once the door is open, your brain temporarily sends security patrols, checking whether the environment is safe. That patrol is what you experience as overthinking and embarrassment. It's not actually about the conversation, it's about uncertainty. Your brain hates social uncertainty more than almost anything, so it tries to resolve it by replaying the moment again and again, searching for clues. But here's the paradox. The more socially aware someone is, the stronger this system becomes, which means the people who value connection the most often feel this embarrassment the strongest. So the real question becomes, how do you calm this alarm system without shutting down vulnerability? There are a few psychological ways to work with this system instead of fighting it, not by suppressing the feeling, but by retraining how the brain interprets it. 1. Label the emotion in real time. When embarrassment appears, name it. Not, I said something stupid, but, this is post-vulnerability embarrassment. This works because affect labeling, a process studied in neuroscience, reduces amygdala activity. Naming the emotion turns a vague threat into a defined experience. For example, After sharing something personal, you might think, ah, this is the emotional hangover, and suddenly the feeling becomes less powerful. 2. Delay the mental replay. Your brain wants to analyze immediately. Instead, give it a timer. Tell yourself you'll review the conversation later. This works because rumination loops feed on immediate attention. Delaying analysis weakens the loop. In real life, after a personal conversation, you notice the replay starting. Instead of diving in, you say, "I'll think about this tomorrow." Most of the time, the urgency fades. 3. Look for evidence, not imagination. Your brain fills uncertainty with imagination, but imagination usually assumes the worst. So ask one simple question: what actually happened? Did the person listen? Did they respond normally? In most cases, nothing negative occurred. This interrupts the negativity bias, where the brain overestimates social threats. 4. Normalize the vulnerability hangover. Psychologists sometimes call this feeling a vulnerability hangover. It happens when emotional openness creates temporary self-awareness, but like any hangover, it fades. Understanding this changes how the brain interprets the feeling. Instead of "I embarrassed myself," it becomes "my brain is just processing openness." And that small shift matters, because interpretation shapes emotional intensity. So here's the mental model to remember. Opening up is like turning on a spotlight. For a moment, you feel visible. Your brain responds by checking whether visibility is safe. That checking process is the embarrassment, not because you did something wrong, but because your brain is still adjusting to being seen. And every time you allow that moment to pass without retreating, the alarm system learns something new. Visibility isn't danger, it's connection. The strange thing about vulnerability is this: the moments we later feel embarrassed about are often the moments other people remember as real, not polished, not perfect, just human. And over time, the brain slowly learns a new pattern, that openness doesn't destroy connection, it creates it. So the next time that quiet embarrassment appears after you open up, pause for a moment, because what your brain is calling exposure might actually be the beginning of being understood.